I walked into that meeting with a clean shirt, a fresh trim, and a good feeling. Figured maybe this was the moment. The invite had popped up on my calendar Thursday afternoon. 1-1 strategy alignment with Greg, our department lead. Friday, 2:30 p.m., right after the fake smile morale sync, and before some bullshit Zoom on collaborative resilience. I even skipped lunch to polish up the slides. Greg sat at the head of the conference table with a protein bar half unwrapped and that jittery look he got when he knew he was about to lie to someone. "Hey Ron," he said, barely looking up. "Thanks for coming in." I nodded, sat down, opened my laptop. He didn't ask to see a damn thing. We're shifting your role a bit." He scratched his neck like he was trying to rub off the words. My stomach dropped. I'd heard that exact phrase once before, right before they laid off my buddy Max and pretended it was a mutual transition. Quick note, before we start, how's your day going and where are you joining from? "Shifting how?" I asked. Greg leaned forward like he was about to drop wisdom, but all I heard was fluff. "You've been doing great heads down work," he said, "but we want to move you into more of a support alignment. Help the team scale your efforts." Support alignment. That's what they call it when they want to demote you without the paperwork. "I've been leading architecture on the last 4 releases," I said. "What am I supporting exactly?" He pulled out a printed org chart like that made it official. "Drew's taking point on platform architecture moving forward. You'll help him get spun up, then stay close on support threads." I just stared. Weeks, months, I'd spent grinding out logic trees and caching logic and modular UI flows they didn't even understand. I'd pulled all-nighters refactoring code that kept the entire onboarding loop from buckling under load. I'd built the system they were still using, and they gave it to Drew. Drew, the same guy who once said out loud in a planning session, "Wait, does Jason need semicolons?" I looked at Greg. "Are you serious right now?" He gave me this weak-ass nod, like he was sorry. But he wasn't. He was scared I'd make a scene. Instead, I smiled, closed my laptop, stood up, and said, "Sounds good." I walked out of that room with a face that didn't match the fire in my chest. Every step back to my desk felt like someone else's life. Like I'd just watched them throw my name in the trash and clap about it. I didn't slam anything, didn't speak. I just packed my bag and walked out the front door like I was heading to a late lunch. But I wasn't hungry anymore. I didn't go home right away. I drove to the far end of the parking lot, cut the engine, and just sat there. The sun was stabbing through the windshield, baking the inside of my car like a toaster oven. My shirt stuck to my back. I didn't touch the AC. My laptop sat in the passenger seat, still logged in. No access revoked, Slack still open. Still in Infratech main, no off-boarded emails. Admin credentials untouched. They had kicked me off the team, but forgot to shut the door behind me. I clicked over to the staging server just to see. Terminal access, check. Logs rolling in, check. There it was. Drew's first commit. He'd forked my repo into a new folder named Old Assets Ron. That was the name. Not archived, not legacy. Old. Like I was some expired loaf of bread. And then he started pushing straight into prod. No versioning, no code review, no rollback scripts. Just raw, untested changes going live in real time. I watched the logs for a while. He was tweaking the onboarding logic, trying to simplify the reset flow. Except he wasn't touching the dependencies, so the async hooks were already misfiring. 3 failed jobs in under 10 minutes. I started taking screenshots. By the time the bourbon hit the glass that night, I had 42 screenshots. Drew was pulling apart my work with the finesse of a drunk mechanic. I kept watching. A few tweaks later, he commented out a retry sequence and caused a memory leak that would balloon under load. So, I built a new container, separate host, off-grid, fully encrypted, my own repo. I called it Foundry. Same architecture, but better. Cleaned up the lint traps, rewrote the callback logic, stripped out the patches that were only there to keep Infratech's legacy garbage from buckling. And I didn't stop there. I pulled everything I'd ever worked on, prototypes, tools, scraps of ideas I'd left buried in ticket threads. I rebuilt them all, clean, modular, airtight. Drew kept breaking things. I kept building mine. I didn't rage, didn't rant. I just created a better version of what they threw away. Day 2, I got bored and checked back on the server. He'd renamed 3 functions, optimize 2, optimize final, and optimize final final. Like he was a high schooler saving essays. Logs were full of console spam, no version control, no CI pipeline. He was testing live in prod, on my system. I copied the commit history, every line, every error, every timestamp. They hadn't changed the logging email either, still routing critical errors to my address. So, I re-enabled the silent alerts. No one else saw them, but I did. Around midnight, I backed up the first full build of Foundry. It was solid, tight, everything Drew wasn't. I stored the container under a fresh digital vault with a random hash. No trace to me. Redundant storage in 3 places. The next morning, Greg posted some motivational crap in Slack. Big changes, big energy, let's crush Q3. I didn't reply, just saved the message and went back to building. Monday morning, I walked into the huddle room 5 minutes early, coffee in hand, laptop booted, ready to teach my replacement how not to blow up the engine I built from scratch. The room still smelled like burnt K-cups and whatever sadness someone microwaved the week before. Drew rolled in 9 minutes late, sipping some kind of green slushy and smiling like he'd just won something. "Excited to absorb your wisdom, big guy," he said, flopping into the chair like this was his first job interview. I handed him a printed handoff doc, 30 pages, double-sided, tabbed, highlighted, and full of quiet landmines. Page 1, don't delete this. Page 2, I mean it, Drew. He laughed. You're hilarious, man. I didn't answer. I opened up the admin panel and walked him through the load balancer logic. He blinked a few times, nodded like he understood, then asked, "So the balancer's just like, know where to send stuff?" "No," I said. "They don't just know, they're configured. You know what config files are, right?" He waved his hand. Yeah, I gotcha." He didn't. I moved on to the container stack. Showed him how I'd isolated microservices to avoid cascade failures. He squinted at the terminal like it was written in Sanskrit. "So wait, these containers are like separate computers?" "Kind of," I said. "But not really. They're sandboxed environments. Share the kernel." "Oh, okay," he said. "Like tabs in a browser." I stared at him. "No, not like tabs." Every session, same routine. I explained, he guessed, I corrected. He nodded like it was all fine. Then he'd leave the room texting someone, still grinning, still 10 steps behind. Every night, I updated my second document, the real one. Offline, encrypted, not a single byte stored on company servers. It had everything, every internal architecture decision, recovery logic, 0-day workaround, the memory leak patch I never pushed upstream because legal stalled on vendor contracts. All of it, documented and buried under fake file names like boat tax logs, 2021 and diet plan, 2023.xlsx. While Drew stumbled through UI paths and clicked random buttons like a toddler with a TV remote, I was preserving the last clean version of the thing they'd handed him to ruin. Midweek, Greg stopped by to see how the transition was going. I handed him a hard copy of the onboarding checklist and said, "Drew's making great progress." Drew gave a thumbs up with his smoothie still in hand. "Yeah, man, we're jamming." Greg smiled like a proud coach. "Love to hear it." That night, I rewrote the retry flow in Foundry, smoothed out the logic, built a diagnostic script that ran in silent mode and flagged every bad push Drew made in production. I didn't deploy it, just saved it, filed under insurance policy. By Friday, Drew had 4 commits labeled Fix Final, 2 labeled This Should Work, and one that literally said PL's God. I bookmarked it. That one made me laugh. By Friday afternoon, Drew had tanked the preprocessor, bloated the back end, and somehow triggered 500 errors just trying to center a damn button. I didn't say a word, just nodded when he asked if the cloud was acting weird today. Then I logged the bug reports privately, time-stamped every crash, and kept letting him cook. Support tickets started trickling in by end of day. By Sunday night, they were flooding. Form render fails. Customer names mismatched across views. Submission loops triggering empty fields. I archived every one. My inbox lit up Monday like a slot machine. "Hey Ron, quick cue. Any idea why the reset logic fails under mobile?" "Ron, sorry, super random, but can you check something in the old caching layer? Loop's getting weird behavior again. Know if it's tied to the fallback? I didn't answer, not one. They said it plain as day. You're not on that team anymore. So I wasn't. But I kept watching. Tuesday, Drew tried to modernize the flow engine by forcing a state reset mid-session. Broke the multi-step forms entirely. Users couldn't finish onboarding without hard refreshing the browser. He labeled the commit, performance cleanup chat try 2. Support pinged engineering, engineering pinged product, product pinged Drew, Drew pinged no one, and just changed a label color in the CS. By Wednesday, the bug list was longer than the onboarding funnel itself. I quietly ran a diff against Foundry. 0 issues, smooth as glass, memory usage steady, no loops, no leaks, no mystery errors. Thursday afternoon, my Slack pinged with a name I hadn't seen since college. Jake Martin, now VP of Engineering. Hey Ron, hate to bother, but weird question. Any chance you know why Drew's latest push broke the parser? I typed, then deleted. Typed again. Not on that team anymore. I hit send and closed the chat. The next morning, I caught Drew in the break room pouring protein powder straight into a bottle of water. No blender, no ice. He gave me a wink like we were teammates. Hey man, minor hiccup on that pre-submit flow. You ever run into that? I looked him in the eye and said, nope. He chuckled. Yeah, me neither. He walked off like that counted as troubleshooting. By Friday, the reset queue was throwing corrupted session data, breaking state between client and server. Half the users were getting booted mid-sign-up, live, in production, and still no rollback. Because Drew had overwritten my original logic. No backups, no versioned branches. He thought Git was optional. I got another email that night from customer success. Ron, just checking, are you the best contact for onboarding issues, or should we loop in Drew? I replied, I'm not on that team anymore. Good luck. I poured a glass of bourbon and watched the alert dashboard pulse red. Underneath it, Foundry was glowing green, perfect, untouched, versioned, backed up, clean. They had their sandbox. Let them bury themselves in it. Saturday morning, I was halfway through my second cup of coffee when the internal blog notification hit my inbox. Reimagining Onboarding, a case study in velocity, by Drew Carver. My hand froze on the mug. I clicked. First thing I saw was my system diagram, cropped, stripped of the versioning notes, no credit. Then paragraph after paragraph of butchered tech speak. My logic, regurgitated through a meat grinder of buzzwords. He described tokenized login queues like they were some brand new concept he ideated last sprint. He went on about modular workflows like he invented them in a dream. Then came the performance charts. Mine. Watermarked originally, but cropped. He even threw in a cleaned up UI shot from a pre-release I never pushed to production. I knew it was mine. The color theme was something I made on a whim one night in October, mid-deploy, while half my team was already offline for Halloween. I scrolled to the bottom. Leadership reactions. Incredible work. This is the kind of innovation we need. I didn't rage, didn't reply, didn't slack anyone a single damn word. I just closed the tab, opened Foundry, and ran a fresh integrity test. Clean, no warnings, no memory bloat. Request response time under 40 milliseconds. I stared at the dashboard, then opened the build config and changed the host name. Quietly. Just a placeholder name for now. Nothing official. That blog post, that was the moment I knew I wasn't rebuilding for them anymore. Let them cheer for Drew. Let them swallow his recycled garbage with a spoon. I was done spoon-feeding anyone. I had a system that worked, flawlessly, and it wasn't theirs. They wanted buzzwords. I had performance. They wanted LinkedIn fluff. I had real architecture, running clean at scale, never touched by Drew's greasy fingerprints. I pulled up my private doc, started scrubbing language, pulled every internal label, removed names, anonymized the commit notes. I wasn't hiding. I was preparing. My system didn't belong under Drew. It didn't belong in that company at all. So I renamed the first folder, Foundry, Keystone. Still just a label, but it felt right. Something solid, something permanent. That night, I opened my old resume for the first time in years, updated the skills, trimmed the fluff. Dropped in a single line at the bottom. Currently building proprietary onboarding infrastructure, modular, secure, scalable, no company name, no references, just fact. I didn't post it anywhere, not yet, but it was ready. I was ready. Across the room, my personal server's green light blinked once, then again. Silent, steady. Let them blog. The next Monday started with a ping. Alert production. Storage 82%, alert in a session size. Spike is API auth login, alert. Exception, unhandled type, line 127. My old alert scripts were still running silently, still routing critical flags to my personal inbox. Nobody ever turned them off. They probably forgot they existed. I clicked into the logs. Drew's last commit, increase logging to trace everything low-L, everything, uncompressed, full session dumps, user IDs, tokens, cookies, you name it, straight into prod. No masking, no filters, no compression. By Tuesday afternoon, the prod storage had hit 91%. Wednesday morning, staging went down for the first time. Memory spike. Bad session cleanup loop. The node kept spinning until it choked and died. They restarted it. 5 hours later, it happened again. DevOps sent a Slack blast across 3 channels asking if anyone had touched log behavior recently. Drew replied, just added some trace logs, SHLD be fine, the LOL. Thursday, someone from product tried to delete a test user and accidentally killed part of the config. A junior dev triggered a rollback, but since Drew had overwritten my versioning scripts, it nuked half the API schema. Does anyone know why the tokens keep duplicating? Why are we writing sessions into prod and staging at the same time? Is there even a backup? That afternoon, Jake Martin, the same VP who emailed me last week, pinged again. Ron, can you jump in for just a sec? I replied without blinking. Not on that team anymore. No one followed up. Meanwhile, I was on a Zoom call with Nolan Bishop, CTO at Phoronix, a direct competitor and old friend from my early startup days. He didn't waste time. So I heard your old shop is melting down. I smirked. That's one way to put it. You still sitting on that system you used to talk about? I shared screen. Walked him through the core modules of Keystone, formerly Foundry. He didn't even blink. This is cleaner than half the paid platforms I've demoed in the last year. You got ownership over it? Fully, built from scratch, no shared IP, logs to prove it. He nodded. I want it. You looking for employment or licensing? Licensing, I said. Exclusive terms. You get it first. They get nothing. He leaned back in his chair. Send the papers. If you're serious, I'll run it in Sandbox tonight. After the call, I opened Keystone again, ran another test deploy. It spun up clean. No delays, no errors, no missing schema. Friday was their final dry run. I didn't watch it, didn't need to. Their system was a pile of wires wrapped in duct tape. Mine was steel. Friday hit like a car crash in slow motion. By 9:15 a.m., I was 3 sips into a bourbon, neat at Maddie's bar, on 5th. Old joint, wood paneling. Nobody asked questions. My phone buzzed once, then again, then it didn't stop. Dry run day. They were pushing the final build to staging. Dress rehearsal before the Monday launch. No more sandboxes, no more wiggle room. First ping came from a guy in product. PDFs are showing first name instead of actual names. Next message, signups triggering 502 errors, not consistent. Happens after the 3rd step? Then DevOps chimed in. Load balancer is rerouting to deprecated endpoints. Why? Drew finally surfaced with a Slack message in 3 channels. Could be the caching layer, or maybe one of the juniors didn't clean up their scripts. He was blaming juniors, then catching. Then, a few minutes later, this gem. Looks like legacy RON logic causing weird routing. Investigating. Legacy RON logic. The same logic he deleted 3 weeks ago. The same files he named junk in his commit messages. The same handlers he gutted to streamline performance. They asked if they could roll back. Joke was, there was nothing to roll back to. No branches, no clean snapshots. He'd overwritten it all, built on top of sand and duct tape. No safety net, no fallback. Meanwhile, back at Maddie's, I ordered a second bourbon and watched my inbox flood. Jake Martin sent a 3-word email. This is bad. Then HR twice. Voicemail and email. I didn't answer, didn't open Slack, didn't even swipe the banner notifications. I just scrolled through my personal archive and renamed one folder, Info Receipts, Final Receipts, Screenshots, Logs, Timestamps, Git diffs, Alert Reports, all of it backed up and sealed. Drew had posted a smug selfie in Slack a month ago, holding a whiteboard that said Velocity Legacy. I saved that too, cropped it, tagged it, labeled the file Velocity Legacy.jpg. Across town, staging was in full meltdown. PDFs were blank. Caching rules were corrupt. Signups timed out and double-posted user data. One dev pinged the infra channel. Is it supposed to override email addresses with null on retry? Nobody answered. Support posted a screenshot of a client dashboard showing the wrong company's internal data. Legal replied with a Slack thread full of immediate escalation required tags. Drew? Radio silent. I bet he was sweating through that fake washed hoodie he always wore. The one with the thumb holes like he was still in a dorm room. The bourbon was smooth, quiet, like the inside of my head for the first time in weeks. I wasn't gloating. This wasn't revenge. This was gravity. They built a rocket out of spare parts and prayed it would fly. Now it was crashing right on schedule, and everyone wanted to know why the parachutes were missing. I watched one more Slack thread roll in, someone begging for any clean build we can test for hotfixes. They didn't have one. I did. But it wasn't theirs. Monday, launch day. I woke up without an alarm. No commute, no Slack. Just black coffee and the sound of my neighbor's dog barking at the recycling truck. They kicked off the big launch at 7 a.m. sharp. Company t-shirts, branded stickers on laptops, Spotify playlist called Ship It, blasting through the office Sonos. By 7:03, the platform was dead in the water. First issue, blank PDFs, not missing data, literally blank. The dynamic tokens weren't rendering. Templates were broken, parsing logic gone. Second issue, sign-up flows bounced users mid-process, rerouted to dead endpoints, then back to page 1. Some people saw error codes, some saw other people's data. By 7:12, a dashboard meant for client A was showing metrics for client C. At least 3 customers flagged potential data exposure. Slack went full meltdown. Support channel lit up with screenshots. Sales started tagging engineering with urgent in all caps. Product was triaging. DevOps was just throwing logs into the void. And Brendan, head of brand experience or whatever made-up title he gave himself, posted a gif of a dumpster fire with Monday energy in bold text. Then came the emojis. It was like watching a boat sink while someone DJ'd on the deck. At 7:22, Drew posted, investigating routing issues, might be a CDN sync thing. At 7:26, someone else replied, it's not the CDN, it's the service config. Half the ENV vars are null. Drew went quiet after that. I didn't open Slack. I didn't need to. My email pinged at 8:13 a.m. Subject, contract executed. Welcome aboard. From Nolan Bishop, CTO, Phoronix attached, fully signed licensing agreement. Keystone, formerly Foundry, was now live. Not in a sandbox, not in test. In production, fully integrated, private repo, encrypted access, exclusive. They adopted it as their core onboarding infrastructure. Full rights, 5-year deal, high 6 figures. And more if they scale it globally. While Infratech was bleeding out, Keystone was loading clean across 5 data centers. No error logs, no crashes, no support tickets. I leaned back in my chair, sipping the rest of my coffee. On one screen, Phoronix's dashboard, green lights across the board. On the other, Slack notifications I wasn't reading, piling up from a company I didn't work for anymore. At 8:19, Greg called. I let it ring. At 8:21, HR tried too, straight to voicemail. At 8:30, my old buddy from QA messaged me privately. Drew's in the war room blaming your architecture. Says rollback's impossible because of your old logic. He's sweating hard. I smiled. By 8:45, I'd already sent Nolan the updated deployment notes. Keystone would auto-scale during onboarding spikes and retain 0 customer data at rest. Everything Drew's broken Frankenstein never managed to do. They were spinning out. I was spinning up. While they fought fires, I signed into Phoronix's dev portal and watched the logs hum. No delays, no leaks, no dumb commits labeled Final V2 really this time. I closed my laptop at 9 score, took a breath. For the first time in months, my hands weren't clenched. Keystone was live, and I'd never have to look at Drew's commit history ever again. I sat in Miller's diner with a burnt coffee and a slice of cherry pie. Red vinyl booth, paper napkins, radio playing something soft and old. Nothing fancy, just quiet. Across town, they were in full panic mode. Refund requests were flooding in. Legal scrambling to draft apology emails. Someone leaked a screenshot of a dashboard showing 2 clients' private data mixed into the same report. Compliance was about to rip the paint off the walls. At 10:37 a.m., a Slack thread popped up in the old workspace. I wasn't tagged, but I saw it through a side account. What happens if Ron never comes back? The thread went silent after that. Too late. My last email to HR was 10 words. No greeting, no sign-off. All contact regarding me or my work must go through legal. Nothing else? No anger, no revenge speech, no last-ditch plea to fix things. Just a clean break from the people who took my work, slapped another name on it, and cheered while it burned. They didn't get me. They got Drew, and they got Drew's system, or what was left of it. Keystone ran airtight, clean logs, verified uptime, 2-second average response, no Drew touches, no spaghetti logic, no buttons that crash sessions. I'd spent years being told I wasn't senior enough, not strategic enough, not client-facing. They threw that phrase around like a branding stamp. Turns out I wasn't junior, I wasn't middle tier, I wasn't part of the org chart puzzle they wanted to force me into. I was too senior for that circus, that's all. The pie in front of me was nothing special. Canned filling, wheat crust, but it hit right. Tart, sweet, warm enough. Fork slid right through. The waitress stopped at my booth. Celebrating something? I looked at her. Could have said a lot. Could have told her the whole story, from the codebase to the crash. But I just nodded. Yeah, I said. I finally quit a job I wasn't allowed to leave. She smiled and topped off my coffee. Didn't ask anything else. That was enough.